Hey Carl, want to tug on my front tail?
Oh god, I don't know, did you just piss out of it?
Yeah. There's a thick stream of piss.
The Cinderella fans are going to be ecstatic with this opening.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be like, "Wow, I can't believe they included that. What a nod to the film."
I love the people that are going to be like, oh, I watched Triple X 3.
Nuts. I guess I'll have to pivot to Cinderella. Shit.
I don't remember anybody peeing out of their front tail in Triple X
It's in
3.
the
Does Vin
director's
Diesel
cut.
do
It's in
that?
the director's cut. Vin Diesel takes a thick piss on one of the X's, and I don't know which one, but that's the story.
My name is Carl,
My name's Oscar.
and this is Who Would Watch This?
Welcome to Who Would Watch This, the podcast where we watch a film, chat about the film, and then try and figure out who would watch it. Today,
We're talking about the 2021 version of Cinderella starring Camila Cabello. It currently has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 44%, an IMDb score of 4.2, and a Letterboxd rating of 1.7. Oscar, what is the plot?
a modern movie musical with a bold take on the classic fairy tale. Our ambitious is in bold, heroine has to big dreams, and with the help of her fab godmother, she preserves to make them come true.
Wow.
It's Cinderella, but with a twist, a modern twist.
And the twist is they've taken out all the conflict.
That's the twist. There's also a twist. It's a girl boss film, Carl.
Ah, yes, it is.
The girls are in charge. Listen, shut up. You don't get to say a word. I don't get to say a word. The girls are in charge, okay?
And I'll throw it. I have no problem with them doing a girl boss version of like a fairy tale or something, but it's everything else around this concept that truly makes this film appalling.
You're treading mud. Like, I'm not a sexist, but everything else around the film sucks. I'm on your side, girls.
Like I was shocked at, because I watched this with two girls, and then I've talked to a handful of friends who are women, and they all seem much more repulsed by this film than me. So it's interesting that there was that deterrent.
I was staying on the fence. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think girls can do whatever they want. And I watched this also with a. It sounds like I'm lying. With a woman. It sounds like I'm.
Neither of us know women. I've never met one. What do you say? What do you do?
I sweat profusely. I can't even get close to them.
Do I act like James Corden? Is that what they like? Do they like sporadic on the fly comedy that's PG?
Safe quips 24/7. I hear girls go gushing for that shit.
The man's gorgeous. And I'm British. I don't know. That's what he does. I'm a late
That's just me. So that's pretty cruel.
I know, but I nailed you, didn't I?
Yeah, it seems like most girls are pretty disgusted with this film's depiction of girl bossery.
Yeah, I think we'll get into it. We didn't know that we were going to be doing this episode until very late, so we did not record a version of ourselves trying to predict who we thought would watch it.
Cool. Yeah, it was funny. We both had this, and then She's the One. Was that
She's All That?
She's All That, and this came out like same week, and we're like, God damn it, we just committed to Spy Month. Why couldn't we do Girl Boss Month?
Which I will say, because I don't think we'll get to do She's All That, but He's All That. But I did watch it, and one of the things that I think we would have just gone on an absolute tangent about is the fact that I think maybe because of COVID, a lot of the exteriors are green screened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen this on TikTok, but you notice it pretty blatantly in the film that because they're green screened, all of the people in the background are walking in slow motion.
Really?
While everybody in the foreground is walking at a regular pace.
How they filmed it like a different frame rate? Did they just fuck up?
I've no idea how this happened. And frankly, I didn't even notice until somebody pointed it out to me. I hope it wasn't edited for me to look like an idiot in saying that, and if I was to go and double check and the movie played normally, you know what? This tidbit sucks. Edit it out.
Hear me out. I'll say this right now. If the film was so bad that you believe that half the footage could be slowed down, I think that's more of a poor reflection on the film than it is on your judgment of the film.
I'll also say I think people are being excessively mean to the TikTok star that's at the forefront of the film. I think she's totally serviceable in it.
Addison Rae.
Yeah. She's totally fine. She's doing I don't think she's ever acted before. First film, people are like, you know what real acting is, and they put up her acting against like Leonardo DiCaprio, and I'm like, those are two people being given very different direction. Like,
No. I think Leo nailed the high school girl, and I think you're a coward for saying that she even came close to his performance in that. It's pretty similar to this though. It's another because Camilla had never acted before. I don't think, at least in the film. So she's also front and center. I think go the Harry Styles front. Be a small extra in the background that people go, oh, Harry Styles, go for that. Roll into it, and then be the main. I think if there's too much focus on you, then you're kind of like, it's going to be too much.
I really like Harry Styles in Dunkirk. I think he's used wisely in that. I'm interested to see what he's like. I'm interested to see what he's like in a main role, you know?
Oh, no, of course. But I mean, like, in terms of, like, because these, like, what's it called? Like, both these actors wanted to be actresses. So it's like, but I think if you're trying to set up a career in that, start off slow. I don't know. Let's do a bit of indie things. I think it's crazy to start off this big.
Yeah.
And have all the attention on you.
Yeah, for sure. You're absolutely correct. Yeah, let's jump right into it. We open over a fog. No, because I watched this immediately after She's All That or He's All That. Fuck me.
Wow, that's a bad day. Say what you will about the acting, but they're both bad films.
Look, when you're going with the flow of the evening and you've had a few drinks, you just kind of let whoever else is in the room dictate what you're watching. One of the things in She's All That is that there's just barely any extras. It's such a not populated school that to just see a village with some people in it, I was like, ugh, this movie has money.
Points to the movie. What a great movie.
Yeah.
It has extras. Has the budget for extras.
So this movie starts, and I was not aware that it was a jukebox musical. I thought it was a regular musical.
I didn't know it was a musical, so imagine my surprise.
It's one of those things where I don't understand why jukebox musicals exist. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get the fascination. Especially with this film, when you're like, wow, this song hasn't been relevant in a while, nor does it suit what the character's going through, or the scene that you've put it in.
It's a bit upsetting, that, isn't it? How does it start? Because it starts pretty much... and I hate this trope, and I know it's a musical theatre trope, and I can't really complain about it, but I guess it's the whole premise of musicals. They start by singing the plot, and I just think, oh no, that's like a theme throughout it, because they've got like the town crier people, and they just like... You don't hate it?
I don't get...
Oh, good.
Well, no, I definitely am not... I don't love what they're doing, but I don't get the song that they're singing, which is something like, we are a part of a real nation.
Yeah, it's very nationalistic, isn't it? It's a bit...
Yeah. I was like, I don't know, it's kind of just like a bunch of people being like, I don't know, we live under a dictatorship and it's a bit of fun.
That's the gist of the song. Hey. Love our leader. Not gonna riot.
Like, I just thought it was weird. And then there's what's it called? And then so it goes to like Camila Cabello singing like You're Gonna Know My Name. And I'm just like, this is the song that you've picked, because it shocked me that You're Gonna Know My Name is sung 4 to 5 times throughout the film. The song itself makes no sense to the setting other than that one line that they've got, and so she just repeats it all the fucking time.
That's the thing.
And I'm like, there's more lyrics, but they're just trying to ignore the other lyrics.
Well, because they've got 12 songs, 2 of them are original. The only one that actually makes sense is like Idina Menzel's like actual original song, and you're kind of like, oh, this makes sense with the plot. The rest of them are just like, I think Seven Nation Army pops up at one point.
Oh, we're gonna get onto Seven Nation Army. I've got a paragraph on the use of Seven Nation Army in this film.
Okay. Well,
these are expensive songs, right?
Yeah, but it's Amazon. They've got the coin. I mean, like, Cinderella...
No, this was meant to be a theatrical release by Sony, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Like, this was sold to Amazon because of COVID. And probably because Sony knew they had a bomb on their hands. But I don't get why you wouldn't just hire some up-and-coming songwriters to do a proper musical.
Yeah, because then you can, like, release the album. Because, I don't know, like, they're singing all the songs. I've got the songs up here. But, like, I don't think I ever really want to hear, like... I don't want to hear Ed Sheeran sung by 2 people. Like, I mean, that's just Ed Sheeran in general.
I know. Not only that, they pick it like one of Ed Sheeran's worst songs.
Oh, it's like
because I like Ed Sheeran, and I was like, you picked Perfect.
You've
You
outed
picked
yourself
Perfect?
now, Carl. What do you mean you like Ed Sheeran? Are you a 40-year-old mum?
I like Ed Sheeran.
Is that your
Maybe.
wedding song? Is that your
Who's
wedding
to
song,
know?
Ed Sheeran?
I'm gonna get married to Castle on the Hill. Thank you very much. Like, yeah, whoever picked this music, shame on you. I'll say that.
It's pretty lame, isn't it? It's pretty
Shame
lame.
on
Anyway,
you.
so let's get started. So the plot is just Cinderella again with a twist, but we get introduced to Cinderella. She's down in like the evil stepsister's basement, like working in like a sweatshop trying to make a dress. Because what does she want to be, Carl?
She wants to own her own business. Good for her.
Interesting, say good.
Here's
for
the thing. Here's the thing, though. I'm gonna say it right now. The dresses Cinderella makes in this movie are all terrible, and nobody should buy them. These are awful dresses, and like I don't. She's running around being like, "Why won't anyone buy my dresses?" And I'm like, "Mate, have you seen what everybody else is wearing? The peasant across the road's wearing better dresses than what you're making." Whoever designed the dresses that they were going to be like, these are the things that will inspire her.
It's
Not
cruel,
good
isn't
enough.
it? Everyone else is
Not
wearing
good enough at all.
brilliant dresses, and she has this tattered piece of cloth. Just like, would you buy this? And everyone's like, no, it's illegal for women to like own a business. But even if it was legal, capitalism would dictate that you would be a failure because they're hideous dresses. I can't believe she chose this.
They're awful dresses. It's bizarre to me because I actually think a lot of the other costume design in the movie
Oh, 100%.
is fantastic and is probably deserving of like an Oscar nomination. That I don't know why the art director's gone, you know what? And she should be terrible at making dresses.
I guess it makes sense in the plot because she wouldn't be able to afford crappy fabric, but like, don't put that in the plot. Don't put that. I'll suspend my belief. I
don't care. I'll suspend my disbelief. Make a good fucking dress. Because we'll get to it. But even the part where the fairy godmother's going to be like, here's an incredible dress for you to wear and you made it. You're still just like,
I wouldn't buy it with my money.
I'm like, if that's what your fairy godmother's offering you, maybe wish to be good at making dresses. Like, don't go to the ball.
You had unlimited wishes and you got a ticket to a ball.
I saw a review, and it's a line that I think gets thrown around a lot, but I think it perfectly summarizes this movie. Is it feels like a movie made by an algorithm, which is what's an IP that's currently available to us, who's somebody famous we can put in the lead, and what are some songs that can sell the film. Like, it just feels so manufactured and almost plasticky and doesn't have like a style.
It doesn't really have anything, which is a shame because the director, what's her name? Kay Cannon.
I love her.
Yeah.
I love her. I thought Blockers was excellent. She's
agreed.
fantastic.
Yeah, Blockers was like an absolute, like a cheeky gem. And I think she has brought in, like, there's 3 English comedians. Say what you will about James, Mr. James. But they've got James Acaster and Ramesh, I can't remember his last name is, in it. And they're fantastic. There's and Rob Beckett's in it. I swear to God, they must just like watch 8 out of 10 Cats and been like, no, get a couple of those guys. There's bits in here, but it's just oh God, it's bogged down with just this nothingness. It's just painful, isn't it?
Why do we even think it's set in this weird time period?
Because
when you've got this modern music, I'm like, if you're going to do a shake up on Cinderella, why not do a jukebox musical set in modern day?
Has there
like, I don't think
there's so many iterations of Cinderella. They got like the modern. I feel like Hilary Duff had one.
Oh, Cinderella story.
That's it, yes.
Ah, God. I know a lot of people that are obsessed with the Cinderella story.
Yeah, we're not going to touch on that. We won't go into that. Should we just keep... Let's
Waiting for You is like waiting for rain in this drought. Hopeless and filthy. It's a line like that, and it gets yelled at me weekly. It's just like attacked at me. I wake up in the morning and somebody's like, here's a quote from a Cinderella story.
Most of our knowledge is just thrown at us, or honestly. We don't know much. We have just people around us throwing things at us. Let's just breeze over this, because you know the story is Cinderella's poor, yuck, the ugly stepsisters are mean, the stepmom's mean, Idina Menzel.
But even as we try and rush through this, they dial back the evilness of the stepmom and the evilness of the sisters. Like
which makes the whole plot pointless essentially, because you're like not rooting for her. I feel like Cinderella has not really had any like adversity.
No, I was surprised that even if you were going to go for the twist of, hey, the evil stepmom's not that evil, you would still inject another villain into the plot. But really, this version of Cinderella's about a woman that wants to make dresses and meets a man who's going to fund it. And then the film kind of wraps up.
And then swindles it.
And it's nobody wants to stop him. Nobody really cared. Look, so the movie just kind of moves like the original Cinderella with a few different beats. I'm really just excited to get to the fairy godmother, to be honest.
Well, let's just real quickly, we'll set the scene. Who's the king and queen?
Yep.
Because I can't believe we've just done our... I was so over James Bond, I'm like, we've finished, we've done. Pierce Brosnan, and say what you will about Pierce, we know he can do a musical to a goddamn T. You hear this man singing SOS?
I love the fact that somebody watched Mamma Mia and went, you know who is great in this? Pierce Brosnan. I remember watching Mamma Mia Christmas Eve with my family, and I was so upset with Pierce Brosnan in that film. Just so upset. Like, it ruined my Christmas Eve. Like, oh god. I remember the next day, my dad apologized for showing me the film. That's how upset I must have been.
How upset were you when Pierce Brosnan, as he's told his son, the prince, he's like, you have to marry up, and he's like, but I don't wanna, and he storms off, and Pierce is like, alright, choir troop, let's do a song, and he clicks his fingers, and he starts a soul song with them, and how did you feel? Because Pierce doesn't get a song in this, and I think it's the right decision. I'll give it this, the one praise I'll give the film is, they don't let him sing until right at the end when he sings without any songs. It's just him awfully singing. And you have so much appreciation for the Mamma Mia editors who had to edit that into something that is SOS.
I loved that they wouldn't, like, let him sing in the sequel to Mamma Mia. Like, I was just like, what a great decision. Like, to bring him back and explicitly go, hey, remember when you had, like, 11 songs in that first film? Here's a line in one at the end.
There's no tune. We're just gonna have you hum. Just chat, and we'll put a melody behind you.
Also annoys me because I live with somebody who is obsessed with his version of SOS. Plays it all the time.
It is so fun to do. Just when you hear me, darling, can you hear me? SOS. Anyway, the king's main motivation is he's like, all right, to his son Prince. Let's chat about this relationship. So Camilla and the prince, they get to meet, but at the moment, what do we think about them as the mains? Because I'll say this right now, Camila Cabello, her acting's okay. The only big flaw that I have with it is that it reminds me of like very popular Instagram comedy acting.
And that's a great way to describe it.
Well, it's like Liza Koshy, like 2014 though. I don't want to dog on it, but it's definitely that style, and I'm not a big fan of that style. So when that's the whole film, I'm not really rooting for her, especially when she hasn't been getting any adversity.
Especially because I think Liza Koshy kind of grew out of that style, and she's done movies recently, and she's gotten much better at acting. I quite like Liza Koshy when she pops up in something now, because I think she got. But the way that you described it is actually spot on, and I think that's because Camila Cabello is probably, I don't think she's done much or any acting.
I don't
before
think like to the point. Yeah,
I think she's been told to do kind of like a very charming, over the top sort of mannerisms and comedy, and in fact, a lot of the comedy's left to the people around her, and she's got to like play off of that. Do I root for the character? No. I don't think that's her fault. I think the writing doesn't really give you anything to root for with this character.
Well, I don't really know. Really know who to blame, really, because I like the director, and I think she's made some decisions that,
same.
it just feels like a film that no one really wanted to make, and it's such an upsetting thing, really, because then you just get this like dribble that's just like shat out, and no one involved is. The one thing I will say is those English comedians got a fat paycheck from Sony, and that's chuffed. Because I can tell you now, BBC is not paying them enough.
Do you reckon that was James Corden? James Corden being like, I want you guys to get paid, because he's the producer.
Is he the producer?
And he's on 8 out of 10 Cats and things like that.
No,
so
I always think he's sort of like left a bit of it behind. It doesn't feel like he's like, oh, I need to bring these guys in. I don't know whose decision it was, because they're very like niche. Like maybe not James Acaster, because he's had a bit of a risk, like bit of a big moment. But like Rob Beckett and like Ramesh aren't like Hollywood like A-listers. So it's just strange they're in this. But I'm very happy they're in this.
When the prince starts to sing Somebody to Love by Queen, and then proceeds to sing the entire song, like a 6-minute rendition of it, I then went, this is long. Wonder how long this film is. Just shy of 2 hours?
It's pretty disgusting, isn't it?
Why is it so long?
I don't know why it's so long. They had to fit in 12 songs. So what's that? 45 minutes, and then they had to like cobble together the hour plot. It is needlessly, pointlessly long. And the worst part is it's 12 songs exactly, so it can be an album. So like we'll go through it. We've gone through there's 4 songs already that's happened. I'd say about out of the 12, 6 of them are just people singing in a room. So nothing like interesting visually. It is just the camera cutting to forwards and wides and close-ups, and that's it. And them kind of moving, and it's actually disgusting that this is a musical, and this is just like, stop. We're gonna stop for a second. We're gonna do a song. All right, let's return. It's slow.
You're so right. You're so right. The biggest example to me is Material Girl. That is shot very still, just out in the clothesline. The 3 women singing it don't get given any choreography. The song's not furthering the plot. Here's the thing. I think in good movie musicals have songs that further the plot along.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like, the music is a different form of storytelling. These jukebox musicals really frustrate me because they're songs that clearly aren't written about a plot. So they're always just stagnant. It's like from the evil stepmother singing Material Girl, do I learn anything about the character? Does it move the plot anywhere? Do my opinions change? Is it even shot visually interesting? Is it super colorful? Does it at least have good dancing in it or something like that? It doesn't have any of those things.
It's awful, isn't it? It's just like,
I don't get it.
It's just them in a backyard. But like Mamma Mia 1 is a musical. So like the songs have been pitched, and the song and the like entire plot's been written around the songs, so it works in that way. Baz Luhrmann is insane visually, so that's why like you're like, oh, this is visually interesting. The songs are wacky and also progress the plot. This one, it feels like they're just pausing the film for the, like, I didn't like. Did you write any notes during the songs? Like I didn't have anything to say. They're visually boring. That's it.
The one that really threw me was they've got that song from a while ago that's like, that's just how I feel. Ooh.
Yeah.
You know that song? Because I hadn't heard that song in so long. I was like, wow, that song exists. Don't know why it's in the film. But also, lyrically, characters are singing it, and it doesn't pertain to their plot at all.
No, I don't know. I think they just...
So I don't know why they're singing it.
Randomly picked the song. It's very upsetting, isn't it? Well, let's just summarize what's going on.
Also, the prince has a guitar at one stage.
Oh, fuck, that sucks.
Why are you stringing a guitar? Where'd you get a guitar from?
Well, let's sum up what's going on. So the prince and his, like, posse are like, man, I want to fuck a girl, but there's no girl here that can really get with me. Because my dad, played by Pierce Brosnan, wants him to marry up so he can, like, own all the land. But he wants to fall in love. Camilla's just like, I really want to work in these dresses. Anyway, the king's got a speech. Let's see what's happening. So they go to, like, the king's, I don't know, speech? What is this?
I don't know what he's even doing. Is he just going out to be like, hey, I really want my son to marry someone? Anybody here wanna do that?
Jump on his rod? and Camilla is jumped up on like a horse, and it's this like awkward. I don't know. It feels so dated, just like the quirky girl. Like it's because she's what's it called? Kay Cannon, the director, like produced New Girl. Zooey Deschanel's like the blueprint of the quirky girl, but it's been 10 years. It's done. So then, like Camilla, like makes a big noise and is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm awkward. I'm so silly." And the prince is like, "I want to fuck her. Yes, her. 400 meters away. I'm gonna bone her and love her forever."
His eyesight must be insane, into the point that it's a superpower, because he's like, I was instantly in love. Man, I can't see about 4 meters past me, and I have 20/20 sight, or 50/50 sight. Who knows how much sight I have? I'm oozing sight, apparently. But even I wouldn't be able to see Camila Cabello on that statue. Alright? So I don't know what he's going on about. When he's like, I saw her, and he's also like, I love that she stood up to my dad. She didn't stand up. She got down
She
from
caused
the
a
statue,
ruckus. She
like
caused
he
a ruckus,
asked.
and that's her going, "Oh, she can make a scene not of her own fruition." It's, oh god, this like here's the thing. The first, I think, 40 minutes of this film is the most bland, nothing thing to talk about until we start getting into like not the politics of it, but like where the direction of the film wants to be. Like, what is this film?
Yeah. Look, I just want to... Everything moves the way that you think it would in terms of being a Cinderella film. She's like, I'm going to go to the ball, and I'm going to be with the prince, and I'm going to wear the dress that I've made. And she comes out in this just awful dress.
Scraps, isn't
it?
It's
Cinderella.
hideous.
It's awful. And the evil stepmother's like, you're not going to the ball, and throws ink at it. And I was like, God, you just improved that dress, I tell you.
Honey, it was ruined when you bought it.
Go.
The cat in the hat right there. It's like, and Dina Menzel does an absolute favor to that dress. Should we talk about?
Oh, she does.
Should we talk about these like the rats? Because like I forget like
they look awful.
They look dreadful, don't they? They genuinely look worse than the cat's rats. But like, do you remember like? Have you seen the recent like the original Cinderella, the Disney one? Like,
I haven't seen it recently. I think I've only there's some gaps in my Princess Disney watching. So I think that's one of the ones I maybe have never actually seen.
That's great. My grandma had like the video, and I abused that. I can't stress to you how rat heavy that Cinderella film is. It's mainly about the rats. Cinderella is a B plot in her own movie. It's the rat story. So the fact that they've just shot on the rats is quite frankly a crime. They're the more interesting characters.
So the dress is ruined. Everybody else goes off to the ball. Camila Cabello's like, I'm gonna sadly sing You're Gonna Know My Name Now. She's like, you're gonna know my name. and then out of nowhere comes who?
Why? It's Billy Porter as the non-binary fairy godmother. I read the trivia for IMDb, and it's like, hey, this is the first non-binary fairy godmother. And I was like, I know that. Why would that be trivia? Why would I think that Disney in the 1950s would try and do that? But yeah, they show up, and I'll be honest, like, it's kind of a hindrance on the film, because I've never noticed how much of, like, plot stuffing the fairy godmother is as, like, a character. Like, this fit, like, in the original, I didn't really think about how lazy writing that is, but, like, the fairy godmother shows up, and Camilla's like, I've got a lot of problems. He's like, all right, well, let's go through the list and figure it out. All right, haven't got a dress, here's a dress. You haven't got a way to go, here's some rats. She's like, but what if I see my godparents? Like, here, you won't see them. And it's just like, just plugging up plot holes. It's very lazy, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Core concept-wise, it's very lazy. But the reason that I want to talk about this scene is because I think Billy Porter's the only person that comes into this movie trying. With, like, he brings, like, an energy and an excitement to what he's doing, and he brings an incredible dress that he looks great in, and he just fucking acts up he literally just starts acting fucking rings around Camila Cabello. He's like, oh, did you think you were good in this film? Fucking look at me, Camila. Look at me go.
But it's upsetting, because again, it's like another, like, again, you can tell it's like in a green screen room, because it's just them chatting, and then they do like some... It's the strangest bunch of people. It's Billy Porter, like Camilla, James Acaster, like Ramesh, and James Corden just kind of weirdly moving in like a room. They kind of dance, but it's not really a dance. I can't imagine that day of filming.
It's James Corden scatting, and I was like, "Don't scat! You're James Corden. What are you scatting for?" He's like a beep baba doo baba do what it do, and I was like, "Can you not fucking scat, James? How about this, James? Just for once in a fucking movie, don't scat." All right? Nobody's good at scatting. Have you ever been to a concert and you've been like, wow, they're good at scatting? Oh, look, Imagine Dragons. I bet they can scat. Bruno Mars, I bet you can scat.
Now, hang on. Bruno Mars could scat to God. Imagine Dragons couldn't. If Imagine Dragons open a scat album, I'd listen. I'll say it right now.
Oh, God, okay. This is a call to arms. Imagine Dragons, we dare you to make a 12-track album of scatting.
We know you're listening.
And propel it to #1.
We know you're listening.
We've seen the emails. We know you fucking love us. All right.
I could not tell you how many members of Imagine Dragons there are, or who the band is, or if there's like who they are. How crazy is that? I don't think I could. If they just walked past me, I couldn't tell you who they are.
I never understand bands. I don't get them. I'll be honest. Like, I like bands, but I'm always just kind of like, oh, it blew my mind when I found out the lead singer of Maroon 5 was not called Adam Maroon. I'm like, you need to make more sense as a band.
You'd love to be the drummer, right, of them. That man must have, like, I don't know, $10 trillion, and, like, I couldn't. I don't think 4 people know who he is. No one knows who he is.
They have a drummer? Like, is that... Can we confirm?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
Like, for all I know, Adam Levine is all of them. Like, maybe it's not a band.
You know, have you seen that viral video they did where they, like, just, like, played at weddings? I always imagine the wedding doesn't know who they are. Like...
I would love the idea of those curtains falling and somebody's like, yes, Imagine Dragons came. And you're just like, play Believer, play Radioactive. Why aren't you playing the songs? What the fuck is Payphone? Like...
Oh, God. They are like... Man, they must have all the money in the world, but like, I don't know. Are they happy? I don't think they would be. Like...
What an accusation. I bet they've got all the money, but I bet they're fucking miserable.
What do they do? What are those songs? Their songs are so, like, just nothing. It's just like, I'm in love sometimes. And that's the song.
But never again, but, never again,
but you've written an Imagine Dragons or Maroon 5 song. You've done it.
Mine, that was the Beatles that I did.
The Beatles are more...
Give me credit.
No. Beatles more generic, you know. It's, hello, John, I'm going to write an octopus garden and I'm going to jack each other off. Hello, with the Beatles.
It is actually what... Remember that album where they jacked each other off? What an insane thing that was that they did.
I'll say it right now, that's the secret to success. Get a bunch of horny men, jack them off, and then write a couple of songs, and that's how you get the Beatles. One Direction didn't do it. Look at them. Broke up. Imagine Dragons, guess what? They were jacking it hard. Hard jacking. That's why they're that big. You don't think of Radioactive without wanking each other off, Carl.
Yeah, well, I guess when you can... Yeah. I see that, I guess. I don't like what you're saying, but the evidence is sound. Like...
You cannot write a #1 hit wonder being in a band without just having a group wank sesh.
God, I know. Honestly, you just... When you say stuff like this, you're like, man, the music industry is fucked up. Luckily, the film industry's fine.
Oh yeah, the film industry famously not a scratch. Honestly, the music industry's pretty fine too. Except if you're in a band, you're gonna have to jack off, and that's just the rules. Only flaw with the system. What are we talking about? Cinderella? Oh yeah.
Oh, back to this. Look, I mean, so she then goes to the party in an awful dress with these awful mice men in this awful cart. Like, I don't know how, if you're going to do a Cinderella version, you don't have the money to make things look lush. Like,
yeah, it looks like they just rented like a castle. And like, that sounds glamorous, but it's not very glamorous. They're all just very bland rooms.
It's like they beat a castle. And somebody had to go around and be like, can you tape over that PowerPoint? Somebody's like, "Oh, sorry, one of the runners has actually plugged their phone in here to charge." And you're
All
like,
right,
"Oh,
well,
fuck. Stand here until they come back then." And you're just like, "Hey, where's the director?" Standing by that PowerPoint, waiting for the runner to come back. And the director's like, "Why am I the one doing this? Don't we have other people that can do this? Where's the first AD?"
They could plug in my phone. Well, like you think about like The Favorite, which I assume has like a much lower budget. That looks fantastic, and this is just like nice rooms.
Yeah, so we're at the ball.
Mm-hmm.
We meet all these gorgeous suitors for the prince. All their costumes look incredible. They're all individualistic and stunning. Just so much better than whatever Cinderella's wearing. They then all begin to sing, "What a man, what a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty
Yeah,
good
100%. And again, another song where they're just the dancing's that, but it's just like a still wide shot, and it's just that.
Yeah. It's and then what continues is I can only explain as almost like a riff off.
Yeah, it's that, isn't it?
Like
But it's pretty it's pretty funny because the prince throughout the whole thing's like, I'm waiting for the right one. But essentially, these women are like, "Hey, you want my pussy?" And he's like, "Yuck! I'm gonna put a border up on you, Seven Nation Army. I'm gonna hire military to get these fucking women away from me. I don't want them anywhere near my cock."
the reason, surely the only reason that they sing Seven Nation Army here is because somebody thought the backing tune of that would be fun to go with What a Man, like
Yeah,
in the
I
front
guess so.
track. Like they're trying to do like a mishmash on it, but it's like, well, that song makes no sense for anybody to
No,
be
it
singing.
feels because like the whole the only really way you can reinterpret the Seven Nation Army song is that he wants to kill the women or like put like a board. I think he's like, I want to put like a barrier up against them. I can't remember the line, but it's a strange one.
Like somebody on set should have been like, I don't know if this makes sense. Does anybody think this makes
Carl,
sense?
you're in luck because
Doesn't make
while we're
sense to
doing
me.
that, we get. I don't know. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it might be the funniest part of the whole film. James Acaster, Ramesh, and James are all huddle around. They're they're rats, and they were humans now, and they're kind of going, "How sick is this? I just pissed out of my front human tail," and I can tell you now, like, no offense to James again. I think James Acaster's delivery is like hilarious. It's like, "I've got a front tail." So funny. James just goes on for like another 10 minutes, like, "I got a front tail, I'm gonna piss out of it. I've just pissed out my front tail." And you're not happy about it, are you?
I know he's kind of got like a comedy style, at least in these American films, that is just gonna repeat stuff like comedy and repetition, and I'm like, that's a shtick that can only do so much.
I mean, we're not comedy gods.
So-
You must stress that. We're quite lazy with our comedy, but the stakes are low. We're down here. That's a big film, and he's
like, we're not comedians. Like, it's not we trying to be like have a career as being comedians.
Speaking of yourself, I put a second mortgage on.
We're just
you
chatting.
piece of shit. I've doubled down on this goddamn career. I want to hope.
I've read your sitcom pilot called Oscar. It's just about you living in an apartment.
No characters.
Me as your neighbor. It's awful.
You watch. In 20 years' times, there'll be reruns of me on Netflix. I'll have a large business deal, and I'll make a lot of money off the reruns. And then I'll have a show with me in a car, and I'll talk to people, and I'll be uncomfortable for most of them. I'll talk to the president.
I really like, was it getting coffee in cars with comedians? I'm like, that's a level of interviewing that I think I personally very much enjoy, because it's a lot of it's about how good the coffee is, or about how nice the car is.
It feels like an Italian dad's wet dream. It's just like, oh, coffee and cars, perfect. All I want to do, and some big guys. The weirdest one is have you seen like all of them?
I think I've seen pretty much all of them.
There's one where he does with Miranda Sings, and like he's like straight off the bat goes, "My daughter wanted you here. I didn't want you here." And then she's like, "Oh well, I guess I won't do my shtick then. I guess we'll chat." And it's very uncomfortable. I feel bad for her. Like, oh no.
he's incredibly blunt, isn't he?
He is.
Like, it's something that, you know, because they're celebrities, it's like, how rude them being blunt. But you just kind of like, as people, you just kind of got to be blunt. Like, one of my favorite things that Jerry Seinfeld ever did was like Kesha running up to him on a red carpet going, "Oh my god, I love Seinfeld so much. Can you give me a hug?" And him going, "No.
I do.
No, don't
He's
know
so,
you."
He's so matter of fact.
Like,
no, I don't want to. Why would I do that? Nah.
yeah. Like, it's so funny. And then the reporter's like, "That was Kesha you turned down." And he's like, "Oh, well, I don't know who that is. Hope she has a good night."
God, we keep getting off
we'll
Cinderella. What's going on there? I don't know. I don't want to talk about this film. Anyway.
So we get back to the ball. She gets offered a job because I can only assume somebody that's blind was like, "This fabric feels nice. Can you make good dresses?" Like, I cannot imagine somebody looking at her dress being like, "You have a future in this field."
I felt it. The material's nice.
Like, there's even a part where the prince is like, "Hey, I love you. I think we should get married." And he's like, "And then you would get to not live in squalor and you just give up everything." And she's like, "So I wouldn't have a job?" And he's like, "No, you wouldn't, but we would have the finest dressmakers in all of the town dress you." And she stands up and goes, "But I'm a dressmaker." And I just wanted him to look her up and down and be like, "Are you?"
Camilla, we've seen the dress. I put my hideous sister in it. It's not a career for you. I don't know about you, Carl, but would you rather take all the money in the world or grind for that money? Like,
oh, I'd give up my hopes and dreams in a heartbeat. I'd sell out immediately. Oh god, if we ever get offered anything for this podcast, integrity gone. Me,
it's gone. We'll sponsor goddamn
immediately.
anything. Let me stress that right now. If you give us a good price, we'll sponsor it, okay?
After the mess that is this episode, I wouldn't touch us with a 50-foot pole. But hey, if you want to hinder your product on our podcast, go for it. I'm sure we'll make it stop.
Fuck it. Put a competitor's product on this podcast. It will lower the sales.
Squarespace puts on like Webster or something.
They just tank. We're a tanking podcast. We take your ideas and we crush them. But yeah, no, she commits to having a dream. I'm a bit annoyed because I feel like...
Don't have it. Nobody should ever have a dream. You know, it's taken me 25 years of life to realize you should never have a dream. I'm going to iterate that to the listener right now. Don't bother.
Yeah, I feel
The first sign of you falling in love with somebody with a bit more money than you, sell out. Who even cares if you love them? Fuck it. Just live. Just live with money and without pain, but just live without love.
Camilla pretty much works in a sweatshop, and the guy's like, "Hey, I'll pay for everything." Quite frankly, I think she could do dress hobby, like making as a hobby. But she's like, "No, I want to grind for this view." No, give up. You've been given the golden goose, and you're sitting there like, I want to earn it. No fucking way. I just take the easy route every single time in life. That's what this podcast is. We went, we want to do something creative. What's the least we can do? And even then, this is too much.
Oh, far too much effort. What's it called? Does he not realize her best friends are just 3 mice that don't talk to her? I feel like it would be a startling revelation to realize where she's living with those mice and what she thinks is a nice dress. Like, I just don't think he would be happy with this woman. Like, and frankly, I don't think she would be happy with him. This character is basically, I don't know, he's like a graham cracker of a human being, isn't he?
Like, it tells that we're like almost finished with the film and we haven't said a single word about this. This man is the blandest nothing man ever. He's very wealthy. That's kind of his like shtick.
Like, does he have like a personality or some comedy or anything like that? And they're like, no. Like a graham cracker, there's maybe salt.
We've licked the salt off. The rats have licked the salt off. He's just a licked graham cracker.
He's just do you reckon when they went traveling they took the mice?
You mean for production, or do you mean in the film?
In the film.
Yeah, I think Camilla's got this weird obsession with these little rats.
Like, I think the mice are kind of creepy. Like, really, because they're just kind of around when she's doing stuff down there. Yeah, it's wrong. Like, could you imagine? It's almost like in Harry Potter 3 again, where Ron finds out his rat is a human being. You'd be like, well, I've gotten naked in front of you. And it turns out you're James Corden?
How fucked up would
Like-
that be if you were stroking your pet cat and then just a naked, jellied James Corden grew out of that and just was on your lap and you were still stroking him? You'd be like, oh no. And you're like, yeah, I've been rubbing my taint on your carpet. How do you like that?
Oh god, don't you just get the vibe that like James Corden would be just such a sweaty man, wouldn't he?
Oh, the glands on that boy. You couldn't close them. Deodorant would be nothing. The pores would be gashing.
So hypocritical of me, who if I'm like in the sun for 30 seconds is just like and I'm just drenched with all of my sweat and I'm like, somebody put me down.
That's the thing with podcasts. All we can be criticized for is our voices and our opinions. And quite frankly, that's easily attacked. So the second video comes on, we're ruined.
Oh god, we're awful. Look, these are two things. One, I have an annoying voice. Two, my opinion doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what we're at. So if you're thinking of coming to me, I said the comments about myself. So you don't need to come to me.
That's the best defense. You say it before the bullies can. If a bully comes up to you, go, oh, no, I'm insecure about my body. There you go. You've just made a joke and you can't be bullied.
Oh, I know, right? Bullying yourself? Man, what a defense mechanism. Carry it with me my whole life. Oh no.
I remember, like, I don't know, like, I think, like, 5 years old, I think you gain consciousness and you kind of get an assessment of, like, where you are in the world, and you kind of look around and go, oh no, I'm bottom of the barrel. Let's mock this situation. So I'm in on the bit too. Otherwise, I'll kill myself at 6.
I think I realized I was the bottom of the barrel the day that I wore a rashi to the beach for the first time, and I went, hey, this is the most confident I've been in years. And that day was yesterday. So things are not great.
A rashi is such, like, it's in the name. It is such a lame. All the cool kids who didn't care about skin cancer were so cool without their shirts on. And my mum was like, oh, we're not going to buy you a rashi. I tell you what, we'll have here's a t-shirt. You can wear that. Go in the sun. Oh, she was like, do you want to wear the hats with the shitty little shade at the back? You won't get your neck burnt. I would have taken skin cancer over looking like I would be thriving in life. I wouldn't have a podcast. I'd be living it up.
I remember when teachers used to be like, I'm sorry, you wearing a cap? I think you need to wear a bucket hat. I'd be like, how dare you? How dare you tell me to wear a bucket hat? Get out of here!
How late did you have those like lame brim rows? Those the entire,
oh yeah,
which are cool. Like genuinely as an adult, that's kind of okay.
Oh, it's all I want to wear.
Yeah,
like you kind of grow up and you're like, oh, certain hats suit you. You're like, oh, am I a cap person or am I? Some adults wear that one with the awful shade at the back, and you're like, oh, that's a confident man. I bet that hat's Gucci. Like,
yeah, they're ironic and they nail it. God damn it.
All right, well, back to this mess. We'll get to the point where it strikes to midnight. Everything's beginning to fade away, so the movie decides to turn into a body horror, and it's like James Corden mutating back into a mouse, and it's just the most bizarre effects.
Is it comedy? I don't know, because then like James Acaster
terrifying
gets like immediately transformed. God, we're just going for the notions. It's just yuck.
I think every joke in this is just so anyone could have said it, anyone could have written it, can be used for any situation. The only joke that I liked in this movie was the mother being like, have we got any news on the wedding? I have a lot of pastries left over from the party.
That's a good bit, and the other good bit is...
I liked that, and thought her delivery was good too. Sorry, you go.
No, I was going to say that they just didn't let Pierce Brosnan sing. I think that's a pretty good bit on the filmmaking.
That was funny.
Well, let's just smack this out. Cinderella
Do you reckon if...
Oh, yeah,
Sorry. Do you reckon if, because it is the filmmaker of Blockers, and I think she also maybe wrote Blockers? I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think she may.
Do you reckon this movie would be more fun if it was up a rating class in terms of its classification? Like, if this was a raunchy comedy, there was also a jukebox musical, there was also a version of Cinderella.
I reckon she's like, well, she's done New Girl, 30 Rock, Pitch Perfect, which I think Pitch Perfect's M, if I remember.
Yeah.
I think just a little bit more.
I love Pitch Perfect. Pitch Perfect's a bit more on the fine line of adult comedy.
Well, she did the second
Like,
and
it
the
doesn't-
third. She did the second and the third, so hope you like those ones.
The second one's okay, the third one's pretty...
She also did Baby Mama. I remember seeing that in the theater, like in the video store so often. Never knew what it was.
She's very clear, because I love 30 Rock. So she's very clearly from, like, the Tina Fey camp.
Yeah.
And because I really like Tina Fey's comedy. Yeah, what is this movie, PG?
Don't even think that. I think G, probably. It's just, it feels just like, again, as we said, like, it feels like it's just a mandated film. Like, not like a film, like, I don't think she wanted to make this film. Like, it's very opposite to Blockers.
Like, yeah, I would not be surprised if she kind of started out making a different movie, and as things went along, slowly it turned into something else from the producers being like, we'll cut your budget if you don't make it more kid-friendly. We'll do this if you don't include this over here.
Because Rob Beckett gets this, like... Because Rob Beckett is, like... And he's, like, framed as, like, the ugly, like, suitor for Cinderella. He doesn't get a single line in, and I think a lot of his lines have been cut. He's quite a funny person. I feel like he would have had
he is a funny
ball.
He's a funny guy.
Just being like the ugly suitor. So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think something could have gone awry in this production. Who knows? Because I was talking to my friend who owns a cinema, and she was like, "God, I could not even imagine if this movie was in a cinema. It seems so much like a streaming film."
Yeah, it feels like just a film that, like, hey, we need a musical. Give it. Just here you go. And it wasn't even the bullied film of the week. It was like there was two films at the same time that got bullied.
Yeah, like, I think this is a much worse film than He's All That.
Oh, really? But like,
yeah,
can you pinpoint what it is? Like, is it just like that no one wants to make it? Because there's like elements of like girl bossness that are a bit like, because like essentially like I think it's kind of lazy. Camilla's just like, I want to own a business that, and I don't care about love, but also she does fall in love at the end. Like, it's like, pick a side.
Like, I think it's because what's it called? If you're going to do this sort of thing with a property, I don't think Cinderella's the right property to do it with. Like, I'm sure, I don't know what other fairy tale you would pick, but I feel like Cinderella's maybe the worst one to pick if you're going to be like, this is going to be a version of Cinderella where it's all about female independence.
Exactly.
And I'm like, well, you've picked the thinnest plot of all of the princess stories, and the one that's the most reliant. Maybe that's why they picked it, because it is the most reliant on the man, perhaps. But it's like, with you taking away that stuff, this movie has no conflict. No characters have an arc. It's just a movie without any sort of creative vision or anything interesting happening to anyone in it at all.
I think genuinely, other than Camilla and the main actor, I think the casting, even James Corden, is done pretty well.
Yeah. I think Pierce Brosnan's fun. I actually quite like the actress that's Pierce Brosnan's wife. I thought her lines and her delivery were all kind of fun.
What's her name? Minnie Driver.
Yeah, Minnie Driver. Love Minnie Driver.
Well, should we wrap this up? So let's just, like, what's going on? So essentially, they're looking for the glass slipper. There's this gross montage.
They basically cut the glass slipper bit just so they can run into each other.
Yeah.
It's the best part of Cinderella, and they're basically like, look how short and quick it is.
Because, like, the whole plot point is that, like, even the, like, you're tangible, like, the best part is that, oh, the prince has got one up, like, on the evil stepmother. He has the glass slipper. He's looking around, and the evil stepsister locks her away. It's like, oh, fantastic. But Idina Menzel doesn't do that. She's like, hey, I once had a dream to play the piano. And Cinderella's like, maybe you should chase the dream. She's like, maybe I will. Again, furthering that there's no conflict. So then they find each other, don't they?
They just run into one another. And then they're like, hey, should we stay together? And she's like, all right. And then the sister becomes the queen. And then they sing, what's it called? Let's Get Loud for what feels like about 9 minutes.
Oh, it feels long, doesn't it?
Oh, it's so long. It stops for so many little pieces of dialogue and so many singular dance numbers and so many musical.
Because right at the end, there's this
It's just-
plot point with Pierce Brosnan and Millie Driver, which I cannot stress this enough. Pierce is fencing, and I cannot believe that I would ever see Pierce Brosnan fencing like in like 5 days of
twice
each
in
other.
2 weeks.
Yeah, fuck me dead. Anyway, there's this really it's almost depressing. They have this like plot point at the end, right at the end, just like when Minnie Driver's like, I'm not happy with you. You're a bad king and a bad husband. Love doesn't mean anything. And they're like, oh, and then they quickly patch that up. And they're like, we're together forever. Yeah, everyone's lovely. Everyone's in love. The daughter who is actually like socially responsible is now queen. Camilla is a dressmaker, but she also is in love, but she's not tied down by love. She's a girl boss, and she doesn't take no man's word for it.
Yep, that is the film.
Yeah, there's also 12 songs in there, but because they're not fucking responsible for the plot, there's just no need to even mention them, which makes this film pretty what a pointless film.
Alright, Oscar. Who would watch Cinderella 2021 version?
It's probably the film that's just like, it's not really, I think it's bad. I think we haven't even used this that often, but if your kids are bored, you can put them down, and this is the Cinderella they'll watch. They're probably not going to watch the old cartoon. The 2017 one's 4 years old now, I guess, so that one's useless. I guess this is one you put on for your kids. The songs, I guess if you're a child, like they're catchy, so that's enough. It's pretty appalling. It's like a weird one that's like it's like on itself like, yeah, we're pretty progressive, but like progressive maybe 40 years ago. It's hopefully not hopefully it made money. I think if it makes money, then everyone's made a paycheck and just go home, because no one wanted to be here.
Yeah, I think it for sure. I think this is a film without meaning, without purpose. It's soulless. It feels dated the moment it's been released. It also feels like it's released too late. Also, why doesn't Shawn Mendes play the prince?
Right?
I feel like that would make sense.
Was he too much?
Why wouldn't you do that?
Are they dating?
Was he too smart to say
they're
no
dating,
to this?
aren't they?
Yeah, I'm like, why wouldn't you? I feel like that'd be slightly fun or slightly interesting. I don't know.
It's like Taylor and Taylor dating on Valentine's Day. It only aged well.
Oh, who's it for? Look, if you like jukebox musicals, this is it's about as bad as the rest. So continue watching.
If you've got a big list of jukebox musicals, then you can add this to the list. And I guess watch it.
If you've got a Letterboxd account and you've got just a list of movies where Pierce Brosnan's in musicals, add this to the list.
I'll say it right now. If you want to see Pierce Brosnan fencing, well, watch Die Another Day, because that's a better film, I think.
All right, Oscar, what's your palate cleanser for this week?
I watched the Brady Bunch movie, and it is very funny. I love it. I think it's great.
What's it called? When we were in Vietnam and the people we were with were incredibly sick. The person I was sharing a room with was watching this film. And I think people need to explain to people much more that it's a very like meta comedy that's spoofing the Brainy Bunch.
Oh yeah, it reminded me so much of like Josie and the Pussycat Dolls. I think you should watch that because it's the exact same vibe. But I love that it has all the original cast, because it's pretty much like, hey, the Brady Bunch was a bad TV show. We should mock that. But the best thing is that like, because it was made in the 90s, it's like the 90s shitting on like the 70s, but watching it in like the 2020s. So it's just this bad mesh. Honestly, every single it's a thin plot, but it's so funny.
Everyone shitting on Jan
Oh.
is just hilarious.
And she has his voices in her head. What a creative decision for like such a stale TV show. I think it's really funny. Such an easy watch. Yeah.
It's the type of thing that I reckon Phil Lord and Chris Miller would make back in that time if they were told to adapt the Brainy Bunch or something.
100%.
Like that's the level of creativeness behind it, I reckon.
I'm always confused because again, like noticing the Pussycat Dolls, and like I always like go, oh my god, what has this director or writer or like producer done? And they've just like all done like just like generic chick flicks that like take themselves too seriously. I don't know where this like idea to like have this meta comedy. It just they never do another one, and it really upsets me.
Yeah, well, that was the issue with He's All That, was I realized it's directed by the guy that did Mean Girls. And you're just like, how'd you go from doing Mean Girls to this? Like, Mean Girls is so good. And I'm like, does it just come down to the fact that that was just an incredible script written by Tina Fey? Or, like, is it the screenwriters are to blame for the reason this is like pretty good rather than the director? Like, I don't know. Certain things bomb, so the director just ends up doing a very generic thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I was upset. I guess it didn't make that much money, so I guess you go, oh, it wasn't a good thing. I won't do it again. But yeah, I'm always upset that they just never do another thing like that, because it's like, did you accidentally do that? I don't know. I guess it's just intention at the start, and there's no. But yeah, I loved it. Anyway, Carl, what did you watch this week?
I watched the Robert Altman film The Player.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, with Tim Robbins and just a bunch of famous actors from back in the day, all playing themselves because it's set in Hollywood. It's about a Hollywood producer who's getting notes of harassment from a writer.
Yes, I've heard of this film, yeah.
Let down. And it is a very meta, very cynical view on Hollywood back in that time. And it holds up fairly well. I think it come across as a bit dated in terms of the way that it's filmed, but it's really well written and really well acted. But it's a shame that I think the content doesn't have a lot of relevancy anymore because of the way that movies are made and the way we consume film, that its commentary doesn't exactly hold up.
How so? What are they sort of commenting on?
Well, it's just about like, so much of it is about a movie that needs to... so much of it is about what's it called? They're basically talking about how there's only one type of film in Hollywood that can be made all the time, and then the film itself is making that film while living that film, but then the actual film that we're watching is the complete opposite of every individual concept that the films present.
Beautiful.
It's very, very clever and meta. It just has things where it's like, oh, this film, where they're just like, this movie doesn't even have a second act, and it's like, well, this movie doesn't have a second. I don't know. It's like, you could tell that like things like Adaptation by Charlie Kaufman are like very influenced by what this movie is. But I think the issue is that now, when Netflix is producing 150 movies a year, and they're throwing a lot of generic stuff out there, but also kind of making anything and everything, and then people consume it in all of these different ways, the way that the movie's trying to present the way that Hollywood functions, I think, is just different to what it is now, so that its argument doesn't seem as relevant.
No, definitely. It's funny now because it's like, it's just billion-dollar YouTubers, essentially. Netflix just like, hey, we're gonna give you, I don't know, 300 million, make a film. All right, we're gonna give you 2 million, make this exact film. It's very
like, one of the things in the movie is him explaining his studio probably gets pitched 50,000 movies a year, and he is only allowed to fund 12 movies. So he's like, these are all the movies that, like, the movies that I look for have all of these very generic little intervals, and talks about and lists those intervals. Whereas now, I think, because Netflix is making 3 films to be released every single week on Netflix, they're saying yes to quite a lot. And that doesn't mean that everything's good, but they're saying yes to things like, that guy can go make Roma, that guy can make Mank, that guy can make that, and we're not going to give you notes. And we'll let Martin Scorsese make his $300 million, near 4-hour production of The Irishman. Like,
Do you think they're going to tone?
But then,
do you think they're going to tone it back anytime soon? I guess Netflix model. I feel like Netflix's model is like quantity over quality. Like that's their market now. They're like
it's funny because they've still got like a certain prestige to their shows, and then and though most of the movies they release during the year might not be very good, come awards time they usually release like 10 really good films.
Oh yeah, well, that's the thing. They're the master of everything. They've gone right. We need a film for the film buffs. We need a film for the generic audience. We need one for the teens. We need one for the old people. Like just like let's get everybody involved.
Yeah. Oh, there's like one of my favorite parts in that movie, The Player, is just this producer coming in and being like, I've got this way that the studio can save money. Let's just not hire writers anymore. Who needs them? What do they even bring to a movie? He's like, I'm gonna start writing them. We won't even hire them for ideas. Where's a newspaper? Tell me one of the headlines. And they'll just like list a headline. It's like a bunch of kids like crushed in a cliff. And he's like, a tale of hope and desperation. Macaulay Culkin will be in it. Like, it's
that's really fun. Is it more of a comedy or is it more of a like kind of?
It's a dark comedy.
I love that. I might watch that.
So yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. Just I was like, it's a shame like bits of it are dated or not as relevant or anything like that. But if you're gonna watch a Robert Altman movie, I think that one's a pretty good one to watch.
He's directed 90 things.
I like out of all of the things that I think I've watched that he's done, I think The Play has probably been one of the better ones.
Fair enough. I mean, he did make films for literally 50 years.
Yeah, he's pretty pretty big filmmaker.
I've heard of all these films, but never even like heard of anyone talking about them.
They're definitely of their time. Like he's definitely done everything I've watched of his. I've gone, I can definitely see where so many people nowadays were inspired by what you did in this film. Like he clearly had a big impact, like on like the filmmakers that we watch today. All right, Oscar, what are we reviewing next week?
Next week, we are returning back to Spy Month, and we're doing Xander Cage XXXXX
Spy Month
XXX.
So many X's, you won't even know what to think.
You'll be going,
you won't even know. Oh, sorry, somebody's just walked in. They want to know what I think. You won't even know.
Pause the podcast. Someone's at the door.
But until then, thank you for listening.
All right, juicy.